10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Hello, my friends in Sasquatch Land. Tuesday night on Discover Sasquatch. Welcome one and all to another podcast. Want to say a big thank you to everybody in the chat that has joined us so far tonight. Blue-Eyed Northern. BF Bud is in the house. The Scottish Wild Man is back again. Cheers, my friend. Christina Bell is in the house. Patrick Nobel is in the house. I just want to say welcome to all, one and all, and it's glad to see you all here tonight. If some of you knew and some of you don't, I was on Spaced Out Radio the other night, and if you guys want to check out that interview, it was about 2.5 hours long, and go over to Dave Scott's channel, Spaced Out Radio, and give a like and a sub. So I'm glad to see everybody here tonight. And without any further ado, we're going to get this show started. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest tonight from Florida, Mr. Connor Flynn.
Man, that intro was amazing. That was really cinematic, Chris.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing incredible. The stars have aligned. We set this up a long time ago, and now we're here. So it just feels so special. I have goosebumps.
Yeah, we are very, very happy to have you here in Discover Sasquatch Studio. It's always a pleasure to see you bring a new vibe to Sasquatch world, and it's a healthy vibe. It's an energetic vibe, and it really I love it. And there's a lot of other people that are interested in it. You're an author, you're an actor, screenplay writer, and a Bigfoot enthusiast, and we're very happy to have you here tonight. So as we go along here, let's why don't you introduce yourself and give a little back history on you and tell everybody how you got interested in the cryptid scene.
Yeah, well, I'm just so happy to be here, and the names you mentioned earlier are already family. Blue-Eyed Northern, BF Bud, and I saw Squatching Cowboys here, and a bunch of other people. So thank you for even sharing your evening with me, and the vibe is right, and you are right. I'm represent the new age of this Sasquatch community. And I'm trying to bring a positivity and electricity to it because clearly we see that has something to do with Sasquatch in the forest. But yeah, it all started in Ohio. I'm from Cleveland, the mistake on the lake, until the Cleveland curse got broken. Yes, we are both representing our Cleveland Indians hats right now. Chief Wahoo, Go Tribe, Roll Tribe. I actually used to work for the Indians as a fan photographer. So I was one of the guys in the green shirt that would take pictures of the fans. And I still had this positive outlook and energy, but man, you would get denied pretty much like 90% of the time. But it was still a good time. I got to go on the field a few times, got to see Steven Strasburg's first American League start, and that crowd was rocking. That was my best day. But it was incredible. But save the Indians, guys. Yes. Cleveland Indians. But yes, I come from Ohio, the land of the mounds, because there are more than 10,000 mounds in the Buckeye State. And BF Bud, Blue-Eyed Northern, and Hoosier Bigfoot even knows, because Indiana has just as many strange caverns and mounds. And the Midwest just screams paranormal and just strange. And Lake Erie, man, I grew up fishing and tubing on Lake Erie. And Bessie, the South Bay serpent, it's a cousin of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, and Champ and Chessie, and a bunch of other strange serpents. But every time I was up there in the Great Lakes, I was always looking for something. So that leaked into the forest. And when I was camping at Mohican, Salt Fork, Hocking Hills, Cuyahoga Valley National Park, pretty much all around Ohio, I was always looking for the grass man or the hairy man. And we just called him the wild thing. That's also a very common term in the Pennsylvania, West Virginia Valley. And my grandpa calls him that as well.
Wow, pretty cool. What age did you start? When did you start getting into it? How old were you?
Oh, man, I was really into monsters as like a grade schooler, but even as a teenager, we were going into abandoned houses and paranormal investigating and looking for the witch's grave, which is right by the witch's ball. It's a granite stone that's hot when it's cold when it's hot, and you're cursed if you touch it, on Friday the 13th. There's a lot of fun stories. So we'd always go there with like the football team in October. And then there was Irma's house, which she killed her whole family and then sent them down the coal chute. And you'd have to enter through the cellar, and then she hung herself up on the top floor, and you'd have to sneak through the house, and all the neighbors would run you out. It was like one of the craziest experiences. We did it many times, and now the house is all boarded up, and it's right by Crybaby Bridge. So that triangle, that trinity of strange, just was like right around the corner from my house. So I really had no choice. And then I had some backyard encounters and just weird experiments going down. And then I went on the road and moved down to Florida, and I lived out of my Ford Contour, which is a little dinky car. I took the passenger seat out of my car, built a bed, and then lived at state parks, 24-hour gas stations, grocery stores, dead ends, pretty much wherever I could get in and fit in. Then I went on couch surfing. It's like Facebook for travelers, and you make a profile and then you request to stay with people, and it's free and everything. It's really about, just positivity and sharing and, bring back the olden days when, I'll help you clean up your house and your yard, and then you let me stay at your place for a few nights. But the first people I stayed with were a band, and it was Butch Queen and the Bad Habits, and it was witches, B-words, and potions, and a bunch of crazy stuff. So it was a little out of my comfort zone, but it was also into the theater and creative, and I needed a place to stay. So it all worked out. We did a lot of strange meditations and stuff up the Aleister Crowley hallway. But man, things just got so wild there. And then there was a hurricane, and Hurricane Irma. Then I moved west to the Panhandle, right down the street from my mom. And now I'm, 20 minutes from Torreya State Park, where Stacy Brown had his thermal footage, 10 minutes from the Ocheesee Pond, where one was captured in the 1800s, and then, right down the street from my brother, Donnie Miller, who was Standing Goats Rescue, who he's been on Sasquatch Chronicles, Bigfoot Odyssey, and talking about a bunch of his strange encounters that happened right in this region and stained soil. So I think my path has been paved by destiny, but I've had to walk my walk, a few times, and it's definitely had bumps in the road, and it's just been a fun journey. And I love making movies and writing books and doing interviews and interviewing people. I work at a comic book store, and I ask people on the spot if they've had any strange encounters. And even just 2 days ago, this guy, he submitted a story to Swamp Dweller, and I've submitted a story to Swamp Dweller, and we've both had them read. And just to have that alumni connection and to find each other in this dang world, it's like, oh my gosh, it's all meant to be. So this is meant to be. And just everything is so, predetermined, but our energy, our soul has the ability to manipulate it. And then you think about these creatures. Wow, they definitely can manipulate the energy.
Right. You mentioned the Ocheesy Wild Man. Now, I had Stevie Strings on about 3 weeks ago, and he introduced me. I never knew about the Ocheesy Wild Man, and I don't think there's a lot of people out there that are familiar with it. That there might be a Bigfoot buried in Florida,
Yes.
literally buried in Florida. You want to shed a little light on that with everybody about the Ocheesy Wild Man?
Definitely. And that Stevie Strings interview that you had was really trippy because a lot of it hit base where I was doing research like the following week, and he was talking about Mayaca, and I'm going to a camp out there, and I went on a private investigation there at the Crowley Museum. So I love when you spread your wings and you start hearing things that you've researched and dove into. So that Stevie Strings interview was so refreshing, man. Thank you. But yes, the Ocheesy Pond Wild Man. It was captured in the Panhandle in the 1800s by Native American gatherers and Civil War veterans after it tried to abduct a few women and children. And that's not the only story there. There's been giant skeletons found. There was actually some hairy wolf people that ran away there. The ones that like the Mexican children, with the disorder. And then there's been runaway convicts, and also a island with two mummified Native Americans, they say, but I think it might be some wild men creatures. But the main story is the capture of the wild man. In the 1800s, they found him deep in a swamp. They surrounded him. I'm pretty sure they used a net. They took him to the Capitol, and the governor said, well, no way. Send him to Chattahoochee. And Chattahoochee, not a good place. Gary Oldman did a movie about Chattahoochee, about not Native Americans, war veterans being mistreated there. But there was a whole Native American prison camp with Andrew Jackson, and just really, really a dark place. And my friend Jack actually works there now and lives on campus, and he gave me a tour, and I got to see some of the entrances to the tunnels and probably the building that is on top of where the Ocheesy Pond Wild Man is. But yes, they kept him there for 3 years. They had a file on him and everything. Then, of course, somehow he passed away, and then they buried him with a bunch of Native Americans that were, put to death in some weird, strange excursion. But I think there's many descendants there because one of my friends, Uncle Joe, he is an old radio guy, and he has an earpiece, a hearing aid, and he can change the frequencies and listen to them breathe. And his neighbor is a fisherman that goes out on kayaks and canoes, and he says there's definitely activity all the time out there. You can hear grunts and splashing, of course, during the day, but at night it's a whole new place. So I've went out there with my mom and fishing and went kayaking, but I've never actually went on an expedition with my fisherman friends. So that's definitely next up here on the plans. But yes, the Ocheesy Pond Wild Man was captured, sadly experimented on, and buried. But I'd like to hope that maybe he escaped and they just say he was killed or died accidentally. But there's hundreds of other stories of them being captured. But I'm really surprised at the Ocheesy Pond Wild Man not having the special light, because why hasn't these TV shows covered it? I think there's a reason to that, because there's something to it.
Right, I'm just fascinated that you got so much to take in all at once there, man. You did it all in one breath. I think it's just fascinating that how something, I don't even know how to word it now. I don't know how to word it. So let's just move on. I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm sorry.
No worries. The Ocheesy Pond Wild Man leaves many of us speechless, man. And yes, his descendants still lurk. And Ocheesy Pond and Ocheesy Landing is not far from Torreya State Park, and there is so much activity in Torreya. There's caves, and even just on my videos, people use time prints that they say they see something in my video, and then people post their encounters from camping there. So Torreya State Park is like a main hot spot that is right near Ocheesy Pond. So it goes hand in hand, guys, for the skunk ape.
Right. Have they ever tried to get permits to dig the Ocheesy Wild Man up? Has that ever happened?
No, not that I know of, but I know there's a lot of Native American people around here that are really interested in the relics and artifacts. So they're interested in the Native American bodies, and maybe they're using that to get to the wild man. But again, the wild men and the Native Americans used to all be, hand in hand. The Hoopa tribe is one of the most common or the most recent ones, and David Paulides wrote a book about it, and that's of course right near Bluff Creek, right where the Patty footage was filmed.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that with Carl last Tuesday about the Hoopas and his uncle. It's really cool how things go full circle in this whole thing. I didn't even know you knew Carl, and then I tell you I'm interviewing Carl, and then you're starting telling me all this stuff you knew about Carl, and Carl is a really nice guy, and
the real question is, does Carl remember me?
Oh yeah, no, Carl remembers you.
Okay, good.
Carl remembered you.
Even today, just another sign that it comes full circle. One of these horror movie babes that I follow on Instagram was doing a half-naked pose holding Blood Diner, and I'm like, Carl Cruz the man. Now he's a Bigfoot researcher, and I was just like, dude, it comes full circle. It's awesome.
He's so proud of that. He's so proud of that film. Now that it's on Blu-ray, he's really ecstatic about it. So you went out and you decided to go and take the country on, and you're going house to house. And what made you come back to Florida? What made you come back to home, close to mom? What made you come back?
Yeah, after a year on the streets of doing wild stuff with a punk rock musical and going to dingy bars and vampire bars in New Orleans, and we actually went across the country for the summer. We stopped in New Orleans, Pascagoula, Mississippi, Dallas, Texas, Cuervo, New Mexico, which is a famous ghost town, the Dripping Springs in New Mexico, and then of course Las Vegas and Los Angeles, Los Angeles is a whole world of strange stuff. If you are on TikTok nowadays, they say half of the population there is reptilian. So it gets really off the deep end quick. But yeah, and I was in the backseat driving, and we were camping. Pretty much I inspired the couch surfing thing, because they're like, man, if Connor could do it in Florida, from Ohio to Florida, we could do it across the country. And 3 of us did it, and it was remarkable. And that's where I hit a lot of my hot spots, like the DeSoto National Forest. And of course, even Jackson, Mississippi has a lot of Southern history. And I'm not just a Bigfoot hunter, I'd say paranormal investigator and like just historian. Like, I don't even care if the place is haunted or not. If it has a good story, I'm interested in, and I'm interested in sharing it, because so many places fall to ruin and so much gets forgotten. And that's a lot of my inspiration for my books, because it's like I have so many journeys and so many thoughts and so much going on that it's like I just want to write it down, get it out, so I can forget about it and move on to the next journey, just so I can have a clear state of mind. I just want to release the baggage, and of course these platforms definitely help.
Right. It's an important part of research, is what you're doing, is taking it all in, and you need to know every little detail. Like we have I have a famous story here. It's called the Winchester Wild Man, and back in 1895. The mayor of Winston, where I live, actually had an interaction with a Sasquatch, and it was in all the papers in Connecticut, up and down the East Coast. It was all over the place, and back then they even hid it as an escaped lunatic from the asylum up in Litchfield County. I mean, they were hiding it way back then, but that's just something that you got to keep in the back of your mind. That's history. That's part of all this. That's part of learning. That's part of, even way back then they were trying to hide it, and it's been trying to hide all these years. And I applaud you for all the information that you keep inside that it's really incredible. It makes me want to think, I need to start taking a lot more notes and paying a little bit more attention, because there's a lot of information out there that needs to be heard, and you, my friend, take it in, and you hold on to it all, and I applaud you for that. It's pretty awesome.
I did trade a lot of this fun knowledge for the everyday knowledge that they try to program us with in school. So I went through years of deconditioning and going through the trials and tribulations and many blood moon eclipses and strange shaman nights, of course. But yes, thank you very much, because I work very hard for this, and I want this to be my life, because it is my life, but I want it to be a career, a life for, the future. I want to teach people, and I feel like I'm on my journey. It's nothing better than at the Pace Festival when these little kids come up with their checklists and they're asking me for Bigfoot facts, and I give them it, because I know how to get through the smooth way of school too. I was a 4.0 student, but never did homework at home or anything. I always did it in between classes. I was big on do it right the first time, so I don't have to do it extra. And that's all I'm about, is I'm just trying to be fun and energetic and trying to know everything, good, bad, activity or not activity. It's all data, and I'm just a data fan. I love statistics, right, but I don't try to be trapped by them. I try to look for the anomalies. I don't want to try to dictate me.
All right, it's needed now too, Connor. It's needed. Sasquatch needs a spark. Everybody knows it needs a spark. It's dragged its heels now for, I don't know. And I'm not kicking anybody down in the past either. I mean, the huge strides all on the road, and it's been a while now, and we need a spark. It needs a spark, and people like you are going to spark it. I mean, we need new interest. Younger generation needs to get a little interested in it, and you guys are the key to getting that happening. And it's another great thing that I love that you're doing. So to me, it sounded like when you first started, you were Mr. Paranormal. I mean, you did like it all, but you were focused on the paranormal. What switched your gear over to the big hairy guy? What got your attention on him?
Yeah, we actually first described it as the Wolfman, and I still think it was a dogman type creature, unless it was a Gugway. But first, my friend Jake and Alex encountered a creature during the day being driven home by a fireman. All three saw it. They thought it was a deer at first, but it was running on two legs, but it had four, of course. Then it scaled a hill faster than any human could, right by a red barn. Fast forward a couple months, right before a golf league, and we're sleeping over the Friday night before Saturday morning, shooting pool in his basement. And Alex describes it as a rustling. I think it was infrasound. I think that was one of the first times I was probably zapped by one of these creatures, at least that I somewhat knew. But we definitely sensed something, and we turned the lights off, and we kind of dodged the whole walkout room because it's all glass. So we moved to the side near like the bar, and we're peeking through the little window, and we see this hulking figure about 40 yards down into the den. There's a bunch of caves and cliffs right in the back of his woods. And we saw this hulking figure. We dove into the staircase for a few minutes. We end up looking back. Nothing's there. We try to act normal, watch some movies for a bit. I just remember being really curled up and like paralyzed. Probably one of the scariest I've been. It was, as a kid, I've had a couple strange encounters, like people banging on my house, and we thought we were going to be kidnapped. But that was the first real paranormal one that we were like, oh my gosh, it is physical, but this is something out of the norm. They described it when they first seen it with glowing eyes. I don't remember glowing eyes. I just remember seeing it was darker than the darkness. So it was matte black, I'd say. Couldn't see any eyes, couldn't see any teeth, just the big hulking figure. And then we end up sleeping upstairs, all the way upstairs that night. His mom asked us the next morning, like, what was up? And we tell her that we saw some creature. And she is real Bible and by the book. And she actually tells us that she heard man-like hoots ever since she moved into the house, like an owl call. And she believed us, and she definitely thought something was strange out there. We never saw anything again, but we did go back there to investigate, but really couldn't find anything as kids. But then I think after you have an encounter like that, either your chemicals change or just your mindset changes, and you're open to the weirdness out there. And then that kind of just got the ball rolling. And then the older I got, the more I was interested in, the weird paranormal, the stuff that you could actually control, like curses and mantras and seances and light as a feather, stiff as a board, and Bloody Mary, stuff like that. Like all of our sleepovers were always haunted related, or, ding dong ditching and causing problems in the town. So if we weren't if we didn't find the monsters, we were the monsters. Sad to say.
Right. Yeah, it draws you in. It grabs you, and then it pulls you and keeps on pulling, and then year after year and interaction after interaction, you just got that pull, and it's stronger and it's stronger and it's stronger. And to me, it's awesome. To me, it's
100%.
awesome.
And I definitely think something's up with me and my friend Jake, because like I've had more than 5 encounters with strange stuff with him. We've seen UFOs. That was when we were a kid. We've broken into golf courses and we heard whispers and saw lights and we thought people were chasing us, but there was no one else out there. And then another time we were mixing potions during a blood moon eclipse and we were laying on the ground and we felt something come beside my barn, like something huge. And first we thought it was my cats because we were gone, but then we thought it was a deer, and we started approaching it and we just felt this like force of no, and we internally surrendered and just laid back down and everything was back to normal. So I think there's an energy with most of these beings. Of course, sometimes they go rogue and they don't care. And that's the famous story of the Grass Man. Like the Grass Man is known for, he left his clan, he wreaks havoc on the moonshiners, he's going through the fermented fruit, and all the vegetables that's messed up. So he's just a madman. So we were always on alert for angry or aggressive Sasquatch in Ohio. But, the older I got, I heard more stories of positive encounters. But there's definitely a lot of strange stuff. Dennis Martin, Henry McCabe, Cullen Finnerty, Jared Adadero. I think all of them, met their fate to a Sasquatch.
Do you think it's Sasquatch or you think it's Dogman?
I think that ate them or, took them. I think it was probably Sasquatch or the middle bridge of the feral people, the ones that maybe live with the Sasquatch and maybe do a little bit of their bidding, kind of like the Wrong Turn type people, maybe Wendigo. But things get really strange in the Appalachian Mountains, in the Florida swamp, and in the desert, of course, on these Indian reservations.
Right, yeah, the Wendigo, I would never want to run into that. I would never want to run into the Wendigo. I don't want to run into a Dogman. Personally, I think they're evil demons. I don't think they're from this earth, to tell you honest to God truth. I think Sasquatch is from Earth. I think they've been here a long time. But the Dogmen, just all the stories you hear and how they operate, and I just don't think they're from this earth. What's your opinion?
I think they're definitely tampered with, because I've heard so many stories going back to Adolf Hitler. Even King Arthur was battling them and then wanting to tame them. And then I've heard stories of them in South America with armor built into their chests. So yeah, things get really strange with the Dogmen. Then I've heard, the highest ranking Satanists, they have to come to a decision of do they turn into a werewolf or into a vampire. And most go vampire because it's not very painful, but the brave ones turn into werewolves because your bones break and everything. But that adrenaline that they say, but I don't know, a lot of people say that guy's fried out, but I forget what his name is. It's like Phil something, but the interview is incredible. He does it in front of 100 people talking about becoming a vampire. He became a vampire, but he had so much information on becoming a werewolf. And one of my friends, I actually just spoke about it on Into the Fray, and he's road tripping across America right now. He claims that when he meditates, he can turn into a werewolf or a wolf, and he has found fur after where he's sitting. So I don't doubt him, and I don't blame him, man. He's up to something.
All right, well, let's move forward here on that. So I know you're involved in a group of great investigators down in Florida. How do you guys all hook up? How do you all meet? And where did you guys focus down there in Florida?
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of like a social butterfly. I am part of Marie's group in mid Florida, and then I have a group here, and then of course I kind of represent, or am one of the newest members of Outcast Paranormal, Stacy Browns, and then all of us Florida researchers are just one kin, and then of course all my family from Ohio. So again, I'm the social butterfly. I get in where I fit in. But here in my area, we have Tristan Smith, who runs Hidden Relief. He's a great artist. He runs audio. He camped with BF Bud and he's the one that always leads the hike. I don't like to walk with a flashlight, so he's got the flashlight up ahead. I'm scouting a little bit behind and just trying to bring in the curiosity. And you definitely have to try different things out there, ranging from vibrations and meditations to what you're wearing, to what you're eating, to what you're thinking, to days before what you're manifesting. But also my buddy Jack McClellan. He is a genius filmmaker, and he's pretty much the Kubrick of our time. He's the one that made The Void Cat, and then he also made a Sasquatch documentary, and that's how we first linked up. He made a little short called The Bridges, a disturbance at Flat Creek. And Carolyn Bridges, she lives in Chattahoochee. She was the main character or main person in Finding Bigfoot on like 5 episodes, because the BFRO and Finding Bigfoot, they literally lived on her property over there, because she has portals and a bunch of structures, and she is a descendant of some ancient deity that brings in these creatures, and they have slug marks on their windows and grease and handprints, just a bunch of crazy stuff. But they kind of got burnt out by the Bigfoot world over the last 10 years, so they haven't talked to anybody. But Jack is actually a good friend of theirs, and got to make a documentary with them, and I'm actually going to be camping with them here soon, because they've heard my energy through Jack, and they see that I'm not just a typical suit coming in. I'm about the vibes, and I'm ready to hear her out about being an ancient descendant of a special deity in the sky, where most people are like, no, where I'm like, I think all of us are, but we all just have different blockers and distractions that limit us from our ancestors. We all come from one source. Energy's never created nor destroyed. It's always existed. The only thing that never exists is coincidence. That's the first line of my first book, Eerie Swamps. But man, that's just a couple of my teammates. And then you got Tim T in Central Florida, and he's one of your team members for the 168. And him and Wynette are so awesome. They let Tristan, Cameron, and I stay with them for the Florida Bigfoot Conference. And then recently I just did a wild Florida trip that I went to Mayaca, Everglades, Green Swamp, Torreya, and a bunch of spots near Gainesville. But they let me stay with them there, and we actually found some hair in some barbed wire, and Tim did a breakdown on it, and some of it did come back a little bit clear, a little bit tan, and I saw a little bit of green in there too. So I can't wait to get my hair, because we split it under a microscope and see our results. But man, we're really breaking ground here in Florida, and I know even Mark Zasky down south. I was typing out one of the videos that he was in. He's like, "Who's Bigfoot Anon?" I'm like, "Man, come on, bro. You haven't heard Bigfoot Anon yet in Florida? Like, come on, man." But no, I love it. And it's good things to come here in the future. I'm definitely going to hopefully talk to Carrie about sneaking onto your team for the 168, because it would be awesome just to bring my vibrations to your guys' wise and great angles as well.
Yeah, I got a really great team. Yeah, and Tim T, and I got to meet them when I was down in Florida, and I got to experience a little bit of the Green Swamp, man. And I'll tell you, the Green Swamp changed how I think about it all now. Everything. It changed everything for me. So I got a little taste of the Florida swamp, and I applaud all you guys that travel into, because it's not user friendly. The Florida swamp is not user friendly. Everything can kill you. There's spiders as big as your face that you walk into all the time. There's water moccasins, and it's just not a user friendly place. So I applaud all you guys. So you've been to the Honey Island swamp before, and I want to bring up a picture I thought that was very interesting, and I want to show everybody this picture right now. Now, yes. You were telling me earlier that you found this floating. It's a carcass, obviously, at the Honey Island swamp. You want to give a little background on that?
Yeah, I was on a tour of the Honey Island Swamp, which is one of my bucket list spots in Louisiana. The Honey Island Swamp monster footage actually predates the footage of Patterson-Gimlin. So it is a mecca, and it's so important for me to hit it, especially once I moved to the South. It's about 40 minutes from New Orleans, so it's right near the voodoo capital of the world, and there's just a bunch of crazy stuff. Even by Lake Pontchartrain, there's been 6 or 7 plane crashes that have went down right there, so there's some type of magnetic pull or some type of weird just special electric force, and something gravitated me there, man. And there's a movie called Hatchet that there's actually 4 of them about Victor Crowley. He's a giant mutant that kills everybody that comes into the Honey Island swamp. So I think that is based on, of course, the creature of the Black Lagoon right there. And Chris Jericho did a TV show about it. It was just such an important spot. And yeah, I was on a tour, and we saw that from probably like 25 yards away. And I was hanging over the boat getting pictures and trying to get the guy to go closer to it. But it smelled really bad, and it really made a lot of people uncomfortable on the boat. But I think it's either a Rougarou or a kill of the Rougarou, a mutant, because they have some kind of space testing area right there. So who knows what they're letting leak into the swamp. Or maybe a bloated deer or a gator. But why wouldn't the alligators in there, thousands of alligators, eat another gator or a deer? But there had to be something weird to it, like a marking. But it was a bloated, weird creature, and it's translucent. It honestly reminds me of kind of like the rake. And I had a rake encounter. I'll say that real quick too, and then I'll get back to the Honey Island swamp. I actually just did an episode on Long Island Bigfoot because he has had recent rake encounters, and he's found a cave entrance that they've been using. But one time I was driving home from Family Video, a movie rental place, and going down Prospect to Boston Road. And Boston goes all the way to Helltown, which is another famous Mecca. And I grew up right on Boston Road. And one of the patches of woods, it was known for a witch's stone, which I never saw, never laid eyes on, but I was always told about. But it had strange activity in that forest. And I think that creature that went by the barn came from that forest too. But I saw a white translucent creature take about 2 steps on the road with my lights on it during a foggy night. And it kind of reminded me of like the rake, Gollum, Dobby, some kind of weird elf, or maybe even a large fae. But it's similar to a creature from The Descent. I don't think it was blind. I think it was hungry. I think it was malnourished. It looked wet and kind of dying, and it was out of its element. But that was just a strange thing. And that carcass kind of reminds me of it, because that carcass was, 7 feet tall, and it was very smelly and stinky. And then another picture I sent you was a zoomed in snapshot. I took hundreds of pictures that day. A zoomed in snapshot of a dark face and a big, bright eye watching it. And if you see the eye, then you can see the face. A lot of people would say it's pareidolia. Other people say pareidolia is paranormal. Yes, but this picture, that one is clear as day to me. And that is my proudest picture. That's the Florida skunk ape taken along the Chipola River, which is known for some aggressive encounters, and also found beds, and that leads into the Apalachicola, which is Ocheesee Pond and Torreya. So it's all linked, and these creatures can clearly move 20 miles within the night. So I think they all lurk. But yes, that might be the Honey Island swamp monster's newest descendants. And I definitely encourage people to visit the Honey Island swamp. And I know Blue-Eyed Northern and Joe Parker don't live too far from there. I think they live on the west side of there, and I live east. So we're going to meet right in the middle with Flat Rock Booger and whoever else wants to come. I know BF Bud and Angie, they camp out of their trucks, so they're really on the go. So I'm really excited to link up with them soon. And I am really about sharing the knowledge and, sharing the vibes, because you go together as a team and unique energy out there. And if you can come together with a force going out before together, man, I think that you have a lot more luck. And instead of individuals with like a film crew, you got people that are on different pages. If you got people on the same mission, things happen. And we've proved that at the Green Swamp up in Tennessee. And then pretty much every time we go hiking at Torreya State Park or the Garden of Eden. And real quick, while I've said the Garden of Eden is right here, guys, in Florida. 27 of the 28 trees in the Bible are right here at this trail near the Torreya State Park, but it's called the Garden of Eden Trail. And it's a huge, 15 square mile would be the Garden of Eden. So even probably right here, my house might fall in it, praise God. But gopher wood, which Noah used to build the ark, is found right here only. It's called long pine terrea. It's the lightest and strongest wood in the world. And I think that's pretty special. And I'm not saying this is the only Eden. I think there are many equal Edens out there, many equal Atlantises out there. You know, I want people to research mud floods and the Tartarians. There's been mound builders and sun worshipers. There was a race of people, guys, that came before the Native Americans. The Native Americans didn't just start learning about medicine and spirituality. They had to be taught that by the people that had these pyramids in America. And I think the Sasquatch is the closest bridge we have to finding out some truth about that and ourselves. And that's what drives me, man. It's really ancient history, and it's been so covered up. But if you just read some newspaper articles and listen to some historical encounters, you know, stuff unlocks, man. The dots start connecting, and your eyes just open. Your appreciation for this world just grows. And I can't be caught up in petty everyday crap when I know that there are dogmen and fairies and people going missing every single day that aren't even being talked about because they're probably not even in this realm anymore. It's wild.
All right. So you're pretty much convinced that there's every supernatural being exists on Earth these days.
Most, yes.
Pretty
much if there's a story about it, there's some kind of root to reality. Mermaids, of course. Dragons, yes, sir. Three-headed monsters back in the day. And then, of course, giants. There's footage of giants in the Japanese army. And then I just posted a picture on my Facebook today of some frozen Tartarians, man. They're like 12 feet tall. And then, you know, I've also reposted and posted pictures of skeletons. I've been in touch with people that have found giant skeleton bones. And the history is literally 2 clicks away for people nowadays. And just the Ocheesee Pond Wild Man sends you into a wormhole of all the mounds that are in Florida that have had giant bone excavations and how they all line up with the summer solstice and the winter equinox, and they line up with the Egyptian pyramids. It's really crazy because there's a history here in America, in Florida, in Ohio that not many people know about.
Right. No, I agree. And it all needs to be researched, and it all needs to be told, and people need to realize that some of these creatures walk the forests of America. I mean, I've witnessed a lot, and I see where I go and research, I see families going hiking on the same trails that have no idea that I was lured into the woods by a injured dog noise and then had rocks thrown at me. They have no idea. Just like nobody had all the stuff that you just told us. I had probably 50% I've never heard of, and I'll be honest about that. And I'm learning every day new stuff, and it opens your eyes.
And I hear stuff every day that I have no clue about, man. That's what's so inspirational about. There's so much out there. And some people do take it like I'm trying to shove it down their throat. Nope, I'm just trying to open as many doors for people. Take it how you want it. You know, just research it yourself 1,000,000%. Everything I found, that's just my data. My data's led me to what my conclusions are. And then I hear feedback from the BF buds out there, the Long Island Bigfoots, the guys that say, wow, yeah, I heard something about that. Or the Steve Stocktons that say, yeah, there's actually a tribe of gorilla apes in Nevada that have been seen carrying guns. I'm like, yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. Things are weird. So yeah, man, I'm always thinking outside the box, because ever since a young age, they've always been trying to box me in on sports teams, in class, every single way. And I've always thought, like, dude, there's something more to this. So I've always played by the book, but wrote my own book at the same time. And I read between their lines.
Right. All right. I got a question for you. What is the strangest thing that you have ever experienced out of all this? The strangest, absolutely mind-blowing, write a movie about it, strangest moment.
Well, I've definitely had multiple. There was some that we brought, you know, by using seances. We could feel like the room vibrating during some of our group meditations, because we had a lot of dark people in our punk rock band that like can control light, control sound. I could feel my senses being manipulated. So I've felt people get inside my mind, and then I felt that I've been inside people's mind too. I've done so much, you know, Lucy and mushrooms and DMT that a bunch of strange stuff has happened. I've had, deities come from other dimensions that pretty much represent myself. And, when you're in a DMT coma, you meet yourself and there's just tons of fractals and frequencies that you can't even put into words, but it's just such knowledge. But in the normal realm, in Torreya State Park one night, it was raining and we were deep way back far by this creek that is a really known hotspot. Moneymaker actually told me to go back there, and Stacy Brown's had encounters back there. And then Donnie Miller had one in that region, not the same path, but again, same park. The same creatures are out there. But we heard a giant Sasquatch wading through a creek. And for some reason, I just had like the strangest gut feeling to it, because I've heard so many Steve Stockton and David Play's stories that they can control the weather or they work around the weather. And a lot of people go missing once these storms come in. So I don't really like when storms come in from nowhere, but we heard this thing wading through the creek. I got it on GoPro. For some reason, the guy was with Ninja Ronnie. He's a combat veteran, a little loopy. He was like lured to it, and he had the firepower. He had everything. So he wanted to be pulled down the cliffside to it and want to go towards this thing. And I was getting a weird, shield basically telling me, don't come down this hill. And I feel like this creature was kind of wanting to knew we were there way after dark, after we should have been, but didn't want that connection. And Ronnie, I don't think he understands my stance on this. I'm not trying to tag and bag this thing. I'm just trying to experience it. I'm big on structures and footprints, and I have vibes, man. You can feel vibes from far away. I've had my sightings, man. I don't need anything too up close and personal to really ruin my experience, because I love this. I'm really brave in the woods, but I also know that I'm open to this all going wrong really quick. And that force was down the hillside, but for some reason Ronnie wanted to be pulled to it, and he started like fighting through the branches. I actually had to tug on him to stop, and I don't know, for some reason I think the creature got into his head and wanted some problems, but for me, respected me. It's hard to explain, but I'm not really close with Ronnie anymore because he's put me in a lot of tough situations that we were stranded. And I like to walk with pure, and I'm not trying to harm these creatures. I don't really go armed. I don't go armed, but I go with people that are armed. But I think they can smell the firepower, of course, and they can sense your walk with it, of course. You have a different chemical makeup when you're carrying a weapon. You are much more confident and walk with a little bit of pep in your step. But, man, that night definitely freaked me out just because I get in my own head, man, and I've heard too many horror stories of it really going wrong. But I got to remind myself that good is out there. And, from the data I've heard, they have a pretty strict code, the Sasquatch people, that they can't harm humans or they are going to be exiled from their tribe forever. And am I worth that? I don't think so.
All right. For people that do not know Connor or are tuning in for the first time to hear the interview and everything, I have heard from a lot of close friends of mine that Connor is very knowledgeable with all this stuff, and he believes in all this other stuff, but he holds himself very well in the woods. And I want people to know that. I want to know that Connor is not a walking time bomb in the woods. He's a professional. So I want everybody to know that in the chat and who's listening tonight, that Connor's very high energized, and he knows a lot about a lot, but he holds himself as a true professional in the woods. And I think that's important for people to also understand that how he handles himself in his investigating. So
I appreciate that. There's a time and there's a place for everything. And I'm big on that, because I conduct myself in a professional manner most of the time. But when there's time to report and to have fun and to energize, then sign me up as well. But you got to just walk the balance of line. And definitely sometimes when you're out in the forest, you have to attract curiosity. But I'm definitely not out there, whistling or anything. But the occasional fart might bring in a Sasquatch or something.
Right. Well, I'm talking about the potions and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's not happening in the woods while you're out there looking for a Sasquatch. I mean,
no.
I mean,
That's some old research. That's before I knew a lot of missing 401. Now a lot is internal.
yeah, I don't mess with any of that stuff. If you guys got any questions for Connor, please leave them in capitals, and we'll get
But
your.
best believe the Sasquatch mess with them though too. You know, the Sasquatch are definitely stopping by the cannabis farms and eating mushrooms, and they're eating it for food, but they're also using it for enlightenment out there as well. Like they've definitely came to supernatural conclusions themselves.
Well, yeah, they've all. I'm sure they have medicinal, medicinal factors, and they've used them. You know, the pain relief. I'm sure they know all the ins and outs. I'm sure they're not doing it to see trails or whatever, the rainbows and the colors, but I'm sure it's all
Yeah, and if
yeah.
anybody does, disclaimer, don't do it at parties. Do it with people that you're very comfortable with. Be very, very responsible. You cannot fly. Do the thing. Don't let the thing do you. That's big, man. And be very responsible. Don't do it while driving either. My sister was in a very bad DUI wreck that she was a passenger. So I'm big against, drunken driving and all this buffoonery. A lot of people, say I do hard drugs because I'm so amped up. No, I just love this. And I also know that there's truths to be uncovered. And I know that they're shaking, man, because like you said, people are waking up. There are so many reports nowadays with the internet, and welcome to TikTok, man. I've had over 2 million views in the last 30 days of people just learning about Dogman and Sasquatch and just paranormal activity. And I'm one of probably 50,000 channels that are out there doing it up, man. There's so much going on, and there's so much of a cloud of awareness just raising every single day, and I love it. The more stories that come out, the more connections we can make, the more understanding, the closer we can get to the creator at the end of the day.
Why do you think there's more and more interactions these days? Do you think because there's more people in the woods, there's more cameras, or do you think there's something coming? I think that the evil has stepped its bounds and the good is coming in to fight back for a little bit. I don't know how I can explain it, but that's how I feel about it, because there's so many sightings and so many other different sightings of things that I've never even heard of. Like I told you, and I'll be the first to admit, half the stuff you talked about tonight, I have no clue about. And I'm learning too. But well, what's your thoughts on why there's so many sightings?
Heck yeah, man. There's definitely a lot more people. There's a lot more phones. We're moving into their territory. They're getting a little bolder. But yes, things are coming to something, man. I think the tidal waves are during our generation. And right now, I think is a crazy test for this future time, man. And we really have to stand up and be positive and really stand tall with your beliefs and just our knowledge of what's out in the woods. I don't think it's going to end up saving humanity or anything, but it could save some individuals. Just like you said, how there's families out there that are going hiking that have no clue. If there was just a little bit more known about missing 401 or that Sasquatch are actually out there or weird, strange, dark deities, I think the awareness should be raised and it might save some lives. And that's all I'm trying to do is let people know. And I'm willing to be the silly long-haired goofball who's warning people about the skunk ape on the river. I have no problem doing that. But I also think that just people are more comfortable now because there's great platforms like you, Chasing the Truth, Mogion Monster, Steve Isdall, Dixie Cryptid, Buckeye Bigfoot, Canada Cryptid. It's awesome. There's so many awesome storytellers, and they've made it not a trendy thing, but now you're not so scorned for telling your story. And I want people to tell as many stories as they can, even if it doesn't come out perfect. Stutter if you have to. You might forget some details. Just paint the picture that you remember, and that's more than there ever was. So run forward with your stories and just go to someone you trust and don't be scared to tell your truth. And that's what I want to encourage people to do, because even myself, they know me as the Bigfoot guy and I still try to get silenced. So normal people, just stand tall, say your truth. But of course, be smart with your professions. Be responsible during these times, of course.
Right. What do you think it's going to take to what do you think it's going to take to get that out to the public?
It's
What do
just
you
going to
think?
have to be part of the agenda because they already have the bodies. They already know about the mound builder bones. They've already been so many pictures. They have so much DNA. They can say that not all of it's confirmed and some of it's contaminated, but they have these creatures. They raise these creatures. They train these creatures. There's brigades of these creatures in the U.S. forces. So, guys, they know about these creatures. It's just not part of the agenda right now. We know what's on TV at the moment. But honestly, I saw some predictions that said 2021, 2022, it's actually going to come nationwide and worldwide. And the Simpsons predicted it. So it's got to come true here soon. But guys, the cap has already been off. Those who know. And those who are on the fence, they just are a couple good facts away. So try to raise the awareness of, Patterson Gimlin footage, of course, is authentic. But there is a crazy backstory to that. Carl Crew talked about how Jerry Crew used they used his map to find them. That's, a half truth. Of course, they knew there was creatures in that area. They had to log that area. There is a dense history with the forces and the black ops, and it gets really wild, guys. So yes, it's already known. Look at Harry and the Hendersons, Missing Link, Abominable. Why would they release like 5 or 6 Bigfoot animated movies within 2 years? They're getting us programmed and ready for it. So guys, it's literally right around the corner, and you might be listening to the guy they might throw up on the stand to be the guy. I don't know. We'll see. But I stand for us purebloods, and I don't want to sell my soul like all these crazy people in the Hollywood ranks, man. It's a sad world right now, but we have to move forward. And I definitely think Bigfoot is blowing up with the future. It's definitely the trendy thing. We got the cool shirts. Ask me about Squatch, and then you hold up the shirt, and then it shows the face. It's pretty cool. Like, they're coming out with new stuff, guys. It's wild. But like you said, it's time for something new. And I honestly don't think Expedition Bigfoot is the answer. I think it comes in the ground floor, the community, the 168s, Colorado. They're doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Over in California, my dude John and Tate, they're making documentaries. Sasquatch Theory and Media Palace are in Texas doing a bunch of awesome documentaries. It's the ground floor, guys. It's the Stacy Browns that are out there getting the thermal footage. But again, every military base has thermal footage of these creatures. Fort Lewis, Washington, Ninja Ronnie was actually stationed there, and that's special. So I also think that marked him as well. So they knew him from being a military guy, which has killed some of these creatures. And speaking of killing these creatures, I have done multiple interviews or just been there while people were speaking as well. Daryl Owen. He shot one 3 times and it just evaporated after punching him in the face and leaving a big welt. Shows it on the video, the picture, and ripping him open with 3 scratches. And then Old Bear's Den, he said he's killed 3 Sasquatches. And then Donnie Miller actually interviewed a guy that killed a Sasquatch in Mayaca. And guess where I'm going to this weekend for Stacy Brown's camp out, Mayaca. So I hope they don't want any retribution or anything, but I'm very interested in the Mayaca Skunk Ape because that's where the famous skunk ape photos are. We're staying at the Crowley Museum, which my little expedition, a couple weeks ago, I feel like this inspired the camp out, of course, because we heard grunts, we had splashing. My dude James Brose from Outkast, he got a black mass moving across. So man, the skunk ape lives out there. Plus, Brian Laundrie's probably still running around, so I'm going to take my Satsumas and beam him in the head and gator bait.
All right. So everybody finds out this stuff is all real. Everybody. What happens to the forest?
Whew. I think people will definitely stay out of the forest. Honestly, not much would change because some people just shrug it off, just like the UFOs. Like, oh yeah, we know UFO exists. Not much is going to change, honestly. But there will be hopefully protected forests. The example everybody always uses how there's like endangered species of owls that now they can't log whole areas. Well, logging should stop, of course. and we would hopefully be more energy sufficient. But that's in a perfect world. Honestly, I think if we do come to terms with these creatures and we're face to face, it's going to be in times of the future of dystopian future. Things are going real south here, guys. So we have to, of course, keep our natural energy and try to fight back against the establishment and really stand tall in the name of freedom, because hopefully in a few years we can look back at these times and we can be remembered as the ones who actually stood up for humanity, while some people just wanted to throw in the white towel. And I'm still out there trying to inspire people to go outside and go to the movie theater and investigate and do it with your friends and shake hands and love one another. Do not be scared. We cannot fall into that mindset, and we definitely have to break free.
Well, I agree. I'm gonna let you go. I wanted you to get a chance to talk a little bit about the two movies here. I'm going to show this one first. The Void Cat.
Wow. The Void Cat, man. I am so proud of this one. And what's really cool is it's actually showing at a movie theater right now in Tallahassee. And I guess the crowd is even bigger than the Halloween crowd. So I'm really excited to hear back. And I got video of some of the crowd reactions. And the one part, Chris, when I'm like, it's broke. I'm sorry, it didn't play. It did. It's because it's broke, the one DVD. The whole place erupted, man, and that really made me feel good. But it's pretty much a mixture of the Splinter Cat cryptid and also a dog man. And man, it is in my buddy Jack's Strange Universe. The first movie's right here. It's called Lost and Found. And these strange, weird idols are cursed things, and they kind of look like Bigfoot tree structures. Stay tuned for the third movie, man, because this is the first one. Void Cat is second. The third one is definitely heavily inspired by the Ocheesepan Wild Man. So I'm super excited to just start seeing how that unravels, because he's working on the script now. I am so proud of that film, and man, it was such a wild ride. You got to watch it, and you said it was fun, but it might be too new school neon for you.
Yeah, well, no, you guys, like I said, you guys did an awesome job at it. The acting was good. The special effects for, it's a B movie. It's a B movie. That's what they call them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
nothing against that, but the creature was good. It was good. It was just, I'm a grandfather, and it might be just might just be a little tad old for it, but it was good. And people can go and watch it for themselves and be their own judges. And
Yes.
then we got another one here.
Yes,
Zillafoot.
if we say Void Cat is a B movie, then this is a D movie. But again, I'm super proud of it. I play a cryptid research officer. The military brings me in to warn them about this impending doom of Zillafoot, because there's an alien invasion going on Earth, and then this giant half King Kong, half Godzilla erupts from the sky and starts taking over the world. And I know it, man. I came to it's my data, and the military gets me out of there. They're like, you're probably right, but you got to get out of there. And it's really funny. And there's some comedy because I have like a bright light. And of course I'm like talking to the general and I shine in his eye. And he's like this. It's really funny. It did really good online because as part of SRS Cinema, they have rights to like hundreds or dozens of these monster movies. So they actually use clips from other of these movies. So I brought it into the universe, did really good online, and now got a widespread release. So you can find it in Walmart and FYE and Best Buy. But I haven't seen it in person yet, like on the shelf. It's always just online on the sites. But I'm still waiting and demanding. But it's a whole different cover than this one. It's really cool. And all the people that were in this and connected, Jack and Ethan, he's our sound guy, and he's former police officer. And while we were filming The Void Cat, Jack was going to get equipment, and we went hiking, and we actually had a tree go crashing down. And now he is big on the hairy man and all about it, and went on the Stacy Brown expedition a couple weeks ago. We were doing a bunch of awesome research with the Estes method, which is basically a spirit box with a radio, but you break the antenna off of a radio and you put your finger on it. So you're the antenna and you have noise canceling speakers and you just have it going through and you just pick whatever words you can actually hear. And then you got all the rest of the group asking questions and you can't hear the questions because the headphones are so loud. And we had some direct responses and we got it all on film. I had a whole conversation with a slave, a ghost at Bellamy Bridge. I had some crazy weird stuff that like even my mind probably has chose to forget. And it's going to be crazy reviewing the footage and seeing it all come through. But man, yeah, the Zillafoot is so fun and so bad it's good. And it's so goofy, man. And my mom was just like, oh my gosh, Connor, what is this? And I'm like, oh, hopefully I can only go up from here, but it's really cool. And the cover is incredible. But man, I'm super pumped about the future of film because I always had a love for movies and cinematography and shots. And that's what I went to college for. So I always was, looking into paranormal and thrillers, and it's just all coming together with this Bigfoot research. And I have a letter that I wrote to myself from like 2001 as a 9-year-old. And I promised myself that I'd be a writer, I'd play music, and I'd play basketball. Well, I umpire baseball and referee basketball. So I'm still on the court, I'm still doing my thing. But man, I'm staying true to myself about being a writer and of course just being an explorer. And I let the music come with it too. I have an ocarina from The Legend of Zelda that I go out there, and he used to call his horse. So I go out there and call the Sasquatch, and I think more birds respond to the ocarina, but it's still a remarkable time out there.
Nice. A man of many talents. All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. We're past, I don't know what time it is anyway right now. I would like you, if you were in front of a crowd, and how am I going to do this? If you're in front of a crowd, what would you say to them to bring awareness? How would you, and we'll end it with that.
Yeah, definitely. Real quick, I just want to show my books as well. If we go,
sorry.
Right on the thing. I just want to show my books because I'm very proud of my books and they represent me. Plus, I'm speaking with Beyond the Fray, and man, my own book covers are going to be redone and remastered and edited and published by a nice paranormal firm. I'm very excited to team up with them. We're reviewing contracts right now, but I'm super pumped to join the fam. But yes, Erie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden, talks about my journey from Lake Erie down to the Florida swamps, and it ends in the Garden of Eden Trail. So it's pretty cool because Lake Erie, man, is known for strange stuff. Tons of UFO sightings. There might be a UFO base under. Then you got Bessie, the bay serpent, and then down to the Florida swamps, and then a road trip to Eden. Because most people think of Eden as a mythical place. I'm trying to inspire that we could road trip to the physical place, guys. And man, the Ouroboros lives, guys. But yes, that was my first book. It documents my journey. It's like my diary. This one's signed to Flat Rock Booger too. I owe him this one. But Big Brother, Bigfoot, this is awesome. This is my research project. Documents about 16 creatures that I've investigated. I'll read them off just because this is Bigfoot show and everybody can investigate these creatures after. The Ohio Grassman, the Allegheny Yowie, the Washington Wild Thing, the Clear Lake Creature, the Susquehanna Seal, the Tennessee Titans, the Florida Skunk Ape, the Ocheesee Pond Wild Man, the Honey Island Swamp Monster, the DeSoto Demons, the Pascagoula Prowlers, the Texas Wood Boogers, the Desert Apes, Mogollon Monster, the Mojave Sandman, the Big Bear Beast, and man, there's been a Sasquatch around the world. That's the last chapter, is around the world. Actually, the last chapter is letters from family and friends, because I always have my family and friends send me their stories, the ones that they've been on encounters with me to help better paint the picture, and just strange spiderweb stuff that they've had. So it just is not the only wacko hippie guy, it's also people that are true professionals. I've interviewed land surveyors that have had equipment go out. I've interviewed police officers from Georgia that have seen the Goat Man. I've interviewed doctors that have had apples ripped apart, their apple pouch. It's all on video. Please check out my channel, Bigfoot and Not. Monsters and Mysteries Around the Corner. This is all about how we don't have to really read graphic novels and scary movies, and we don't have to go far. They'll find you. And Flat Rock Booger is a perfect example of that. He has security camera. He has these creatures come up on his porch, bang on the side of his house. One's actually came inside and then, peeked his head in, ran out to the forest and started screaming. He's like, I did it. Of course, didn't say that, but that's what it was telling his family. Man. And I've had bangs on the side of my trailer. Sadly, one of my cats, my love my baby, we had her for 10 years all the way from Ohio. She was killed last April at my mom's house. And I really thought about quitting all this because it's all what you manifest. And I'm like, man, did I manifest a freaking dog man to kill my cat? But sometimes just bad things happen that you are out of our control. I was right at the beginning of these bad times, and a lot of creatures were going places that they never been before. And then I have Panhandle Pirates. You had a picture of it at the beginning of the intro. That's my newest book. It talks about around here, guys, we look for treasure and we battle Kraken. So yeah, the Pensacola serpent is just like Nessie. Has killed a few people in the Gulf of Mexico. And of course, new Godzilla movie talks about Pensacola. So there's, of course, a link right there. The Huggin' Molly, Mobile Wolf Woman, and the Cohilly Creek Goat Man, just a couple other creatures that I've investigated for the Panhandle Pirates. But my speech to people, this would be nice practice, my tryout for all the future conferences. But the Florida Bigfoot Conference, I just saw you brought RPG back. RPG's my homie. Come on, he would love to introduce me. Bring me onto the team. Give me a booth. But also this paranormal head shop down in Panama actually just reached out to me and offered a paid spot to speak to their team. So I'm super excited. I told my mom that, and she was like, wow, that's awesome. I told my boss too. I'm like, they're paying double what you're paying. I got to take that Friday off, brother. But I would just, of course, try to outburst with inspiration and positivity. And I'm big on the flow goes. So this one will be a little different than the next one, but it's all authentic. I would introduce myself, Connor Flynn from Cleveland, Ohio, and I've moved down to Florida swamps investigating these strange creatures. I've talked to Native Americans, police officers, war veterans, teachers, mothers, pretty much everyone that represents the good people of our community. And they have led me to these strange creatures that lurk in the forest. There have been animal mutilations, missing people, and missing time. So these creatures are somewhat paranormal. I also believe we might be supernatural. We create the world when we dream. We feel love, electricity. The little children feel their mother. So we have had those strings we can't explain. We have a soul. That's something they can't calculate. There is talks of these creatures in the Indian Ramayana, the Egyptian tablets, the Sumerian tablets, Native American lore, and all across Asia and Australia. The Yowie, the Yeren, the Yeti, the Abominable Snowman, of course, Star Wars, Harry and the Hendersons, pretty much all these strange creatures like the Granch, Shrek, that have been introduced to our childhood, like the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny. They represent these cryptids that are actually out in the night. So guys, be safe when you're hiking. Walk with positivity. Always tell someone where you're going. Bring extra water and food. Try to listen to your heart. Don't listen to the forest, because there are strange voices and they can mimic us perfectly. They are raven mockers. They can get into our minds. So you have to really be strong before you even go out. So of course, prepare before your hikes, prepare before your days, guys, because the days are getting dark and we have to keep that light inside. And one little candle can light up a cave, man. And I'm an example of doing it wrong so many times that you find it right a couple times. And finding it right, you burst your bubble of vulnerability and insecurities, and you meet great people, and great people will take you a long way. And when you follow your destined path, all your needs will be met in abundance. And whoo, I smoked that tryout. That's all I would say.
You forgot get in the woods.
Get in the woods. And yeah, show that picture of Blue-Eyed Northern. Oh, guys. But it's all about positivity. And try to read between the lines. And all the movies that we watch have some kind of truth to it. And yes, that is me and Pat, the Buckeye Bigfoot, Blue-Eyed Northern. She is awesome, and her husband Joe is equally as awesome. And I can't wait to link up with them soon. Man, just I go after these strange creatures, and I've met such incredible people. I've heard incredible stories, and then I've also just been there for people. There was a blind man that came over to our table and talked to me in Flat Rock. He hadn't had anybody listen to him in decades, and that's all he was waiting for. And in Tennessee, Mogion Monster and I and Tristan helped this old gentleman set up his tent, and we were kind of dragging our feet, kind of like, oh, we gotta set up someone else's tent and in the rain, gosh, but then you got to remember we're the youth. We got to be the ones. So yes, I put my crap to the side, of course, but then you get what you got coming, man. He told us a story about a youthful Sasquatch encounter that he was laying trying to pretend dead, and it put his foot on his chest and almost cracked his sternum. It was remarkable. And he told the story on Old Bear's Den. And I actually heard that story after and then, connected the dots. It's like, dude, when you spread your wings, great things happen. And man, like we reached out, months ago, and then we've came a long way, both ourselves on our own journey. And we've also built a spider web of friends that even bring us together. So like, I feel like your family, even before I met you, man. So it's a special time.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely want to get down there this year, and I want to get to the Squatch Out. Definitely want to come down and meet everybody, because you're all great people. They're all great people. You're great. They're all, and just surrounded by a lot of really good people. And that's the best part about it. That's why I was telling you earlier, that's why I did the podcast, is to meet people, to hear their stories. No other reason. I'm not in it to make money and thousands of dollars or any of that stuff. I'm just in it to hear real stories and meet good people. And I appreciate all of you. I really do.
I definitely do too. I can't wait to rewatch this show and see the chat. I always just give my full attention to the screen, to the moment.
It was rolling. There's 50 comments now. I'm trying to listen to you, and I couldn't do it.
Yes. Well, guys, I definitely appreciate all the support. And if any of you guys are going to be at Stacy Brown's camp out this weekend in Mayaca, if I don't know you, don't be scared to come to my and Tristan's campground, man. BF Bud came up right when we got out of the car, and he's like, "Who am I?" And I guessed it right. And man, the rest is history. So don't be scared to reach out to me in the future. If you see me at an expedition or a conference, I love hearing stories and meeting people from the internet. And man, I have deep appreciation. And my books are to honor my life and the people that have shaped my life. And I always just try to think about the people that have taught me. And I just want to try to honor them, because so much just gets forgotten in this world, and I'm a big archivist. Like, I've been to the Smithsonian. I'm trying to get beneath the Smithsonian and see what they hide in. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys sharing the evening with me. I'm on Gypsy Road tomorrow morning, actually live at 10. We're talking about the Japanese Bigfoot with this awesome researcher. So it's fun when I get to be on the other side, but that's what it is. There is no sides. It's all just a circle or energy, or just a ball of energy. And speaking of balls, say no to the balls, guys. Baal, the goat man god, no sphere, no. We are in God's earth, guys. The dome above, I believe in heaven, a physical place. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. And I think these creatures might be descendants of Cain as well, the marked one, banished away, and he's covered in hair. I have a lot of Mormon friends, and they keep trying to get me to join the church. I tell them, man, the Cain story does not make me a Mormon, but it makes y'all Bigfooters. But yeah, Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon religion, found Cain in the 1800s. Cain was taller than him on a horse, covered in hair. I love that story. And Owlman, who is famous for knowing these Sasquatch ins and out, he asked them if they were descendants of Cain, and they said, "We're descendants of Eve." So I think that's the answer right there. They said, right. Yes, but yeah, we're Eve too. And in the Garden of Eden, I always call out to the great creator. I always say, I'm the little dirty hairy person. I think that's what they call us, or a little dirty naked person. But man, I just try to erupt with positivity. But again, yes, I'm very professional, and I don't know. I've I've been to college. I work hard every day. I'm into films. I love bringing the fun to it. I'm not scared to experiment. A lot of people are keyboard warriors. They do not go outside. And I'll just say, hey, take this 10 strip and let's see who survives in 12 hours. And most of them would probably be like end up like this. But man, I would be out there looking for the truth, speaking with the Native Americans of the past, the owls, guys. The owls are the Native Americans reincarnated. So even if it is an owl hoot, soak it in. I'm not saying it's all Sasquatch, but you have to soak in the vibes of the forest. There is sounds and frequencies and healing going on out there that we can't really absorb in our ears and eyes. But guess what? Our cells absorb it. We are electrons. I love saying this. We're mostly particle, but we can become waveform in those true moments. And of course, most of the moments are death when we go to our spirit, but in those true moments of being, we might be able to become waveform. And I think those creatures might be able to help us or go into waveform themselves. So that might, that might help go with the echolocating, the infrasound, the other electrical frequencies, all the structures. I definitely think Chris and Johnny are on to something with the RF. I have my EMF. I also have a cool bone that was left at one of our little dig spots. I found this awesome little arrowhead-shaped red jasper at Torreya. And then this is also the cast from the cave. We were scouting for the Void Cat with Jack McClellan. I was down in this cool cave, and we saw this. Yup, exactly. That footprint in the mud. And it was the only footprint. But this is actually smaller than my foot. So I think it was either a homeless railroader or maybe a humanoid creature like the rake or some cave crawler. But it is really cool because you got the toe scrapes involved in it. And man, that's just so rad. And we find footprints on a lot of our expeditions in the Green Swamp with Tim T and Marie. We found about 5. Tim has some awesome casts of little juveniles that you can see like the muscles in their toes. It's remarkable stuff. And Mike Aguilar has some awesome cast, and my buddy Tristan Smith, he's my brother that is from around here. BF Bud knows him. Squatch Cowboy knows him. Long Island Bigfoot, he's in all my videos. He lives in the territory of the hog-nosed bear, and it's been in his family for legends. It's like an old cave bear, and I think it might be a dogman type creature. And his mom, his sister, he's heard they've seen it. His grandpa saw it, and he heard a growl. So that whole property is just super strange. And he had a house elf, and his cousin got chased by a 6-legged insectoid. So guys, Florida is weird, and just follow the mountains, guys. And everybody go to the Coamoki Mountains in Georgia. Who knew that America had pyramids? Well, I did, and I'm trying to tell everybody else. Go check it out. The Letchworth Mounds, the Coamoki Mounds. Of course, go to the Serpent Mounds in Ohio, and then check out Jeff Harding's story about Blood Run in the Dakotas. It's a place where like 29 different Native Americans groups would meet up, and I definitely think there was some mound builders and some sun worshipers. If anybody has SoundCloud, I have over 10 hours of anonymous encounters and newspaper articles read on there. So just search Bigfoot Anonymous or Bigfoot Anon. Definitely appreciate everybody's time. Check out the Void Cat trailer. Of course, check out my YouTube. I have long expeditions. Donnie Miller helped me raise money for a camera, and man, I've been putting it to good use. I've been getting my documentary on. Jack is Kubrick, and I am Danny Boyle. And if anybody is into films, Letterboxd is a really cool app. It's a social media for movie watchers. You get to rate and review them. I'm about to hit 10K followers on there. So, yeah, my Twitter might be weak, but, yeah, Letterboxd, just search Bigfoot Anon, and then go on TikTok. Even if you're against TikTok, check me out, Bigfoot Anonymous. I have 20,000 followers, and it's awesome. It's fun numbers, man. I just love thinking that many people are hearing about Bigfoot and feeling the vibes, man. I give them no choice. I just hit them with eruption, a volcano, like 4th grade science class. You already know.
I will link as much as I can tomorrow if we have enough room on the page after that, the little burst. Thank you very much, Connor. We made these plans months ago, and I'm glad we got to. Oh, yeah. Hold
We'll
on.
represent.
I'll represent on the way out. I had to take it off because I was getting some weird glare in my glasses. Nice.
Yeah, I put it on backwards too. I think it's important to change up the look through a long show too. And I even do tricks on Gypsy Road sometimes. Like if I get kicked off the show, like knocked off, I'll put a whole new shirt on, man. I love Easter eggs. So like even people that like look back on my stuff, I've left secrets, man. So if something ever happens, man, read between the lines. Go Nicolas Cage National Treasure for me. I might be with the mummies of Ocheesy. Find me.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll see you backstage. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Connor Flynn.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. All right. What a show. What a show. What a show. I just want to thank you all for tuning in tonight and spending your Tuesday night with us once again. I had this whole big new thing to give you guys at the beginning here with the new song, and I had everything written out, and my paper fell onto the ground and I was stuck. Well, hopefully the next episode I can get it going again. And we actually have from the Sasquatch Encounter Brigade, we have Captain Joe will be joining us for our Thanksgiving special Tuesday night. He's going to tell us about his sighting he had at the military base at the shooting range. We're excited to have him on Discover Sasquatch. And thank you again for everybody who left super chats tonight. I didn't even know that was on my thing, to tell you the truth. And I appreciate all that. That's all going to go towards equipment, as always. You guys all know that. Every dime that I make off of this goes towards the equipment. I just bought a brand new laptop, so I can get more content out and things faster and better footage for you all. And myself, one more announcement: Johnny Two Bears and myself are planning on doing a show once a month together. We haven't come up really with the name yet, but we were throwing around Sasquatch IMO. Was one of the names we were throwing around, but look forward to that, and hopefully I can do the intro a little bit better on the next round. So, as Larry always says, get in the woods, people.